Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy, Brother Gaming HD. Mafia II, the Definitive Edition, just became one of the biggest surprises of my first playthrough, and it shows why proper sequels don't always need to be bigger or better. I had never played Mafia 2 before. In going into it for the very first time, I honestly did not expect it to leave this much of a strong impression on me. But after experiencing Vito Scaletta's story, exploring Empire Bay, and seeing how the game handles friendship, ambition, betrayal, I finally understand why many people still consider this game to be a masterpiece. And look, guys, Mafia 2, the Definitive Edition, is not perfect, but it has something that a lot of modern open world games are missing: a clear identity. Playing Mafia 2 for the first time was interesting because I was not coming into it through nostalgia. I was not remembering how great it was when I was younger. I was experiencing the story, the characters, the atmosphere, and the gameplay with completely fresh eyes. And honestly, the game grabbed me much faster than I expected. The opening immediately gave you a sense of who Vito is, where he came from, and why he is willing to take dangerous opportunities. He's not chasing crime because he wants to become some cartoon villain. No, he wants money. He wants respect. He wants to help his family escape poverty. But the more Vito tries to improve his life, the deeper he gets into a world that keeps demanding more of him. That was one of the first things that stood out to me during my playthrough. The story does not make Vito's rise feel completely heroic. It makes it feel tempting, exciting, eventually dangerous. Biggest surprise for me was Empire Bay. It was not just an open world map filled with random activities. Empire Bay feels like a real setting with its own personality. The city has different neighborhoods, period vehicles, clothing, music, restaurants, and landmarks that all work together to create a believable world. Not to even mention that 2K described Empire Bay as an East Coast metropolis set in 1943 with powerful mafia families competing for control of the criminal operations. And you can feel that identity while playing. The snow, the old cars, the apartments, and the city streets all make the game feel different from other crime games. It does not feel like a modern sandbox with historical skin placed over it. It feels like a time period is part of the game's personality, and it just kind of shows that an open world does not need to be massive to be memorable. Sometimes a smaller world with a stronger atmosphere is much more effective than a huge map filled with content that nobody will ever remember. Another reason why Mafia 2 worked so well for me, in my opinion, was the relationship between Vito and Joe. Since this was my first time playing the game, I did not already know how their relationship would develop. I was discovering their relationship as the story progressed, and that made their conversations feel more important. Joe brings that humor, the energy, into the story, while Vito is usually more focused on survival and moving up in the world. They balance each other out perfectly. Joe is reckless, unpredictable, and always ready to get into trouble, while Vito, on the other hand, is more careful, but he is also willing to make increasingly serious decisions when the opportunity presents itself. Together, you feel like two friends trying to find their place in a dangerous world, and that relationship makes the serious moments hit harder because you actually care about what happens to them. The game is not only about earning money and completing missions, it's also about watching relationships change when ambition and crime become more important than trust. Mafia 2 feels like a proper sequel because it expands on the Mafia formula without losing its identity. It introduces a new protagonist, a new city, and different chapters in the world of organized crime. But it still understands what made the first game's concept work. The story is built around loyalty, betrayal, family, ambition, and especially consequences. Vito rises through the mafia because he believes the criminal work can give him the life he always wanted. But every step comes with a price. The jobs became more dangerous, the people around him became less trustworthy, and the line between survival and greed began to blur. This is what a good sequel should do. It should not simply repeat previous games with a new coat of paint. It should take the original foundation and build something new on top of it. Mafia 2 does that well, still feeling like it belongs in the same universe. And because it was my first time playing it, I could appreciate that progression without ever playing the original version. And if you are enjoying this breakdown, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and drop it in the comments. Let me know what are your current thoughts on Mafia 2, the Definitive Edition, especially if you played it for the first time recently. The gameplay also supports the story very well. The shooting feels weighty, the car chases feel dangerous, and the hand to hand combat feels rough and aggressive. The game does not make Vito feel like an unstoppable superhero. Police attention matters, ammo matters, money matters, your vehicle matters. Every small detail, like changing your clothes or repairing a car, help make the world feel more believable. And yes, Mafia 2 is fairly focused and a linear experience. But after playing it for the first time, I started to see that as one of its strengths. The developers had more time control over the pacing, the missions, and the character development. The game is not consistently interrupting the main story with hundreds of unrelated activities. It knows what story it wants to tell, and it stays committed to that story. The focus made the experience feel more cinematic to me. Instead of asking me to spend hundreds of hours collecting random items, the game kept moving me towards the next important moment in Vito's life. Now, calling Mafia 2 the Definitive Edition a masterpiece does not mean pretending the game is perfect. There are areas where the open world felt limited. Some characters and storylines could have received more development, and certain parts of the story moved faster than I expected. The game also left me wanting more from Empire Bay after the main story reached its conclusion. But those weaknesses do not erase what the game does well. A masterpiece is not always a game with the biggest map or the most features. Sometimes it's the game with the strongest identity. Mafia 2 knows what kind of experience it wants to be. It wants to tell a focused crime story with memorable characters, a specific atmosphere, and meaningful consequences. And as someone playing it for the first time, I could still feel the impact of those choices without needing nostalgia to make the experience enjoyable. My first playthrough also made me realize that Mafia 2 doesn't always depend entirely on nostalgia. A lot of older games are remembered as a masterpiece because people played them during an important time in their lives, but Mafia 2 still managed to impress me without that personal connection. The atmosphere held up, the characters held up, the story's theme of ambition, loyalty, and betrayal still worked, and the relationship between Vito and Joe gave the game an emotional center that I did not expect going in. This is probably the biggest complaint I'll give Mafia 2 the Definitive Edition. Even as someone who played the game here in 2026, I could understand why this game left such a lasting impression on people. So is Mafia 2, the Definitive Edition, a masterpiece? In my opinion, absolutely. Not because it's the biggest open world game, not because it has endless lists of side activities. It is a masterpiece because It has a clear vision, a memorable story, a unique setting, and characters that make the journey worth experiencing. And as a sequel, it does exactly what a proper sequel should do. It expands on the world, introduces a new story, and builds on the original idea without becoming a simple cookie cutter story. Playing it for the first time made me appreciate that even more. Mafia II The Definitive Edition proves that focus still matters and that the game does not need to be enormous to be unforgettable. But it's been your boy Brother Gaming HD. And if you are new to the channel, please don't forget to subscribe, like, hit the bell notifications, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out and goodbye, everybody.